Welcome to Tiger Claw Radio. We are now in turbo mode. I've been left no time to put this together. However, I do have some tracks and some band casting. Let's jump right into it. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. That's Null Sleep with Electric Heart Strike. Let's jump right into the Vancast. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Monday morning. Alright. I am out the door on the way to work, and it is freezing cold out today. On this late October morning, Halloween is coming up. We've got, amidst all the console gaming and the collecting and the ordering of new games, Steam has its Halloween sale. I picked up a couple of small things, but my focus is sticking with the with the console stuff right now. That's what I've been enjoying. But I got a couple of things. Here's something that happened. I fired up Street Fighter V this morning for the first time in like a week, and it had to patch. They did a couple of new things to that game. Specifically, they released a new character. I don't know. I couldn't tell you the guy's name. Some generic karate man. Clearly, clearly designed to appeal to fans of Naruto. So we're gonna go ahead and call this guy Old Man Naruto, because that's what I think of when I see this guy. So I downloaded Old Man Naruto, but the game would not recognize my gamepad, which is disconcerting, because it's like that's a game that I've been enjoying for a good long time now, and they continuously patch it, and suddenly a patch is released, and now I'm having technical issues with it. So I don't know if there's a problem with my gamepad or a problem with that game all of a sudden, but that's a pain. They've also had some DLC shuffling that was disconcerting. They re-released certain DLCs last year that were like supposed to be exclusive, like the 2016 Capcom Pro Tour was re-released, and the 2016 Holiday Pack. These are both supposed to be things where it's like you get them while they're available. They're available for a short time, and if you miss it, you don't get them. So, that's something. I mean, I wouldn't really call that news. That's just the Capcom being Capcom. It's still a fun game, though. I still really like Street Fighter V. It's a good time. I picked up the Alone in the Dark trilogy. This is, Halloween. This is the time to get that game. I got it for $3.75. Which is great because it's normally way overpriced at $15. So I got my hands on that thing, which is cool. And I can't even remember what else. 2 shmups, whose names I couldn't tell you, but I had a couple of shmups on my wish list that I just decided to grab. One of the 2 was featured in this month's shmup, or this year's Shmuptober, over on Kaiser's channel on YouTube. I can't remember what it was called though. Something's Dream. It was like one of the first days of Shmuptober. He reviewed this game, and it went down to like 50 cents or something. So I threw that on there. I picked up a couple of games just to make sure I can say I took part in the sale. But really, the star of the show is the stuff I ordered over the weekend, because I ordered way too much stuff. Altered Beast should be coming in the mail for the Master System, which I'm excited about. What else? I wanted to get my hands on Siphon Filter for the PS1. That's a game I really like. And I made this. I wouldn't say it's a mistake, but I was holding out for a black label version of the game because it's a pretty accessible game, right? And while I was holding out for a black label edition, a Greatest Hits edition came up that was attainable at about $4.50. And I let it go because I saw there was a black label auction that was ending shortly after. I held out for the black label, and as a consequence, they both ended up slipping away. So I didn't get to get my hands on the game, which is, disappointing. There are a lot of Siphon Filter games, but that first one was the one I think that was really special. That's the one I played the most. The first one, and in its place, I ended up ordering Siphon Filter 2, which was a 2-disc game. That game was pretty cool. I played that one too. Not as good as the first one. However, they did add a split screen, like 2-player battle game, which is pretty dope. I remember playing that a whole lot with my older brother. So, pretty excited to own Siphon Filter 2. That should be coming in the mail. That, I ordered another one of the Devil May Cry games, which is, I don't know. I didn't get to sit down and play the third one yet. So, I ordered Devil May Cry 1. We'll see how that goes. Here's the big thing that happened, guys. I sat down with a stack of memory cards for the PS1 and PS2. These are the memory cards that were located in the collection with all my disc-based games from years ago. And effectively what I was looking at was 10-year-old save data. So, okay. So I fired up the camera and I shot a video, which is probably already out by now, by the time you're listening to this, looking at some 10-year-old save data. And man, I gotta say, first of all, it clearly paints a picture that I gotta get some new memory cards, because I'm having a hard time, like even the save data that I know I don't want anymore, it's 10 years old. I'm having a hard time clearing data out. So I'm gonna need some new memory cards, that's for sure. Also, I'm surprised everything worked. Most of the data that was there was like a who's who of games that I don't have anymore but really want. Like Disruptor and Blaster Master blasting again, and hell, Tiny Tank. My Tiny Tank save survived, so that's on my immediate list of goals. So hopefully, when I get my hands on Tiny Tank. It's weird. When I get my hands on that game, I'm gonna want to start from the beginning. But I don't know. I'm at the same time, I'm glad I have the save data. So that's that. Talked about Street Fighter V issues. I sat down to play Devil May Cry 3 last night, and I ended up going through all the save data. And as a consequence, that's what I spent all my game time doing, was just combing through that save data. And I ended up staying up real late. I had a hard time getting to sleep after that. But, that's okay. It is what it is. Man, I gotta say, my interest in collecting is shifting towards the PS1. Because that's where, I owned a lot of games that I don't own anymore, but I think the PS1 is where most of my regret lies. And a lot of those games that I regret having to let go are attainable. So the more I think about collecting, the more that's where I lean. PS1 and also PS2, because I don't have a working I don't have a working PS1 per se. I just use the backwards compatibility on the PS2 as a stand-in, and then there you go. So I don't know. Maybe I'm rambling. But there's a lot of games that are super awesome. Hang on a second, deer in the road. There's a lot of games that are super awesome that are also really attainable. Some are really expensive, but that's with any system. Took a look at Shin Megami Tensei. I never played any of those games. There's, they've got somewhat of a cult following. Some of those games are pretty attainable. There was one of the PS2 Suikoden games, Suikoden 4, I think, closed last night at $18, which for a JRPG seems pretty affordable. So that's it. What are we, 9.5 minutes in? I'm going to work now. I wish the weekend was longer, but that's not really true. I just wish I had more time to play games. That's really what it comes down to. I didn't play Duel Masters at all over the weekend. Duel Masters Senpai Legends I got for the Game Boy Advance. Let's talk about that game a little bit. I think Hemrock asked what I thought about it in an email that I'm pretty sure I neglected to read, because I'm having a hard time keeping all my comments straight right now. That's a game where it's like I really like the card playing aspect of Duel Masters. I like the way the card game works. It's pretty streamlined. You get five hit points, and then your shields are gone, and then one more hit point and you're done. And then you got the battling with monsters is pretty straightforward. If you've played a collectible card game before, you'll pick it up real quick. But the artwork is just terrible. The artwork in the game is just hilarious. It's not good. Really bad. But the card playing is good enough that I play it anyway, and that's the game that I've been playing at night. But I didn't get to play it over the weekend, which is disconcerting. Oh boy. And it bums me out a little bit, because now I'm driving to work on Monday, and and that didn't happen. So I don't know, maybe tonight it'll calm down, and I'll be able to be the best card game or trading card collector in the Duel Masters universe. All right, I believe it's time for me to sign off now and head back to the Comfortable Panzer Studios. Right now I need to focus on driving. It looks like there was an awful lot of wind last night. There's a lot of not just leaves down, but branches as well. I'm going through somewhat of a tight spot. Sorry, boys and girls. I'll see you back at the Comfortable Panzer Studios.
All right, let's keep this ball rolling. Right back into the Vancast.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, hang on a second. There we go. Now I can see. Gotta make sure I can see before I try and pull out. It is Halloween morning. Oh boy. I jumped the curb. Hey. There we go. Yeah, we're safe. A little bit of a rocky pull out this morning. Getting ready to drive to work. I actually just got finished filming a video and putting it up, so we'll see how this goes. Here's how it went down. Had a bunch of packages, opened them all up. I'm sure if you watch the YouTube channel, you guys have seen it all. Altered Beast for the Sega Master System. I bought it, it showed up, I opened it, I tried it, now I've played it. Let's talk about it. It was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. I gotta be honest, I don't know how it came to be that was one of my 3 goal games. I was never a huge fan of the Altered Beast game. I had played the Genesis game, many years ago, and I knew that. I also know it from watching the Gaming Beast. I believe Darabka pulls sound effects from Altered Beast for his channel. So that's how I knew it. But I was really just trying to dig into the Sega Master System and find attainable games that didn't cost a lot of money that were fun. And that was one I settled on. It's a fun game. I gotta say, though, I've got to play the Genesis one. I'm sure the Genesis one is better. But in a world of PC gaming, which is where I've been for many years, and in a world of tutorial levels and all sorts of other modern gaming tropes that were not around then, Altered Beast is just so simple, and it's so straightforward and approachable. I really liked that. A lot of being successful at that game, I think, is just pattern recognition. If you go on YouTube and watch like a complete Let's Play, I believe what you're going to see is a player who knows specific points on the screen. All right, well, at this point in the level, what we're going to do is head to about 3/4 of the way on the screen. Then we're going to duck, and then I know the enemies will show up in this place. We'll start hitting this specific button. It's got to be that way, because what I found was, as I would muddle through the level, the bird things would create like a swarm. And then they'd get me locked in this position where I'd have enemies on all sides. And being in that position, I would have full health and I would drop down to nothing very quickly. And that was what I found myself in playing Altered Beast. I only had about, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes to play this morning. That was my first impression. Good game. I dug it, man. Especially every time you get that upgrade. It's neat. I dig that. I'm digging it. So yeah, I will play it some more and report back. But this was a moment. The Sega Master System really came alive in a big way, which was really my goal. It wasn't just to play Altered Beast. It was to make the Sega Master System come alive and not just be the system that Sendu let me have on the cheap, you know? Because Great Baseball is a fun game. Great Baseball is okay. But the thing about Great Baseball is that I don't see anything that makes that game stand out from all the Nintendo baseball games. So I can't really say, oh, this is a great game to get the Master System for. You know? Even Altered Beast, you could say the same thing because it exists on the Genesis, probably in a much better form. But at least it feels like when I play Altered Beast, I'm getting a unique Master System experience. Versus when I play Great Baseball, that could be easily swapped out for RBI Baseball on the Nintendo, or maybe Bases Loaded 2, or something like that. So, good morning for the Master System, that's for sure. And it is in fact Halloween. It's Halloween morning, which is great. I'm gonna see. When I get in home, oh boy, I get my words straight there. When I get home from work today, I'm gonna get the pumpkins out. I'm gonna do some pumpkin carving, and the kids will get their costumes on, and they're gonna we'll take them around the neighborhood, and they can trick or treat and stuff. It'll be a good time. So here's what you do as a parent on Halloween that I figured out after a couple of years of going out with the kids. You got to buy a bunch of bags of candy beforehand, and you keep them secret. All right, so I got a big stash of candy put away. And what that is it's insurance for the kids, so they don't feel like they have to be out for hours and hours and hours just to get candy. Because that's all they want is candy. They, you know, whatever. Put the costume on, and we'll get some candy, and that'll be it. See, this way, you know, we'll go out for a while, probably like half hour, 45 minutes. And then once they get tired of it, they say, all right, guys, I got bonus candy at home. We can throw in the towel now and go back and party. That way they don't have to feel like they're walking away from, we have an opportunity for free candy here. We can't pass it up. The first real year we went out, we put my son in a wagon. I can't remember how old he was, but he was little. We put him in a wagon and we carried him around, or we pulled him around the neighborhood. So what ended up happening was he wasn't getting tired from walking. So we ended up doing like 3 hours or something like that. Whew. I ain't never doing 3 hours of trick-or-treating again. But all right, that's my Halloween reporting. I'm noticing the streets on the way to work being a little bit busier than normal, and it's pitch black outside. So I'm going to go ahead and call that it for now. Just for safety's sake. Let's go back to the ever so comfortable Panzer Studios. I'll see you guys there. Alright guys, bear with me. Wednesday morning, it's the day after Halloween. Last night, all the kiddies went out trick-or-treating, trying to get that free candy. And I got to play some games this morning for the first time in a bit. This morning and last night. I played some games late last night before going to sleep. And that's why I wanted to do another Vancast this week, because I wanted to talk about some of what I played while it was still fresh in my head. The star of the evening last night was Devil May Cry. I played... I put in the first Devil May Cry and gave it a spin, so I've finally given that series a try. I was kind of shocked. See, here's the deal. I played Bayonetta a little bit years ago, and I bought it. I bought Bayonetta used for the PS3 back when our PS3 was new, and I played it like once, maybe twice, and I shelved it. I remember hearing that game was a lot like Devil May Cry, so that's what I was expecting. Bayonetta is it's pretty arcadey, pretty just, you know, bang bang shoot shoot, stay alive, go to the next screen, bang bang shoot shoot. Now I only played about an hour of Devil May Cry, but it couldn't be further from what that game was. Devil May Cry actually reminded me a lot of the early Resident Evil games. There was a lot of like pre-rendered backgrounds in funny camera angles where you walk from one screen to another. All it was missing was the tank controls. A lot of looking at clues like statues and stuff, wherein pressing X would provide a string of text you would use as a clue. I mean, we saw that a lot in those Resident Evil games, the early ones. And it was really slow paced. I didn't start shooting things until a solid 15 or 20 minutes in. I dug it, man. I really dug it. I didn't get very far. I got lost pretty quickly. I ended up wandered into to a couple of screens that chained together, and I can't figure out how to get back where I was. It's like when you first start fighting the puppets, the marionette puppets that come and try and kill you. I was playing it really late. Typically, when I play video games, I don't outlast the kids. They always stay up just a little bit later than me. But I stayed up late. It's like I want to play. Problem is, when it comes to problem solving and you know, looking for solutions to real issues like that, like how do I get to the next place, my ability was highly diminished due to my exhausted state. I will say that Devil May Cry makes a good pair with Altered Beast, because when I get stuck and I get frustrated and I can't figure out how to go any further, it is fun to set aside 5 minutes to punch birds and lions right in the face. So I'm off to work right now, and I'm thinking about coming home and playing Devil May Cry, because I had a good time playing it last night. It was a good game. Alright, only three and a half minutes in. Problem is, the weekend's still several days away. This strikes me as a game that you really have to dig into. I mean, that's the way Resident Evil was, which is what I liken it to in my head. You really had to explore, get the lay of the land, figure out what items were rare, or were placed where, and these kinds of things take time. You can't do them in 30-minute sessions, 45-minute sessions. You got to sink a couple hours into looking around, checking stuff out, and shooting everything. And it was a good time, man. I really dug it. I also brought up. I went into the basement in my place, or my old. Hang on one second. Drive time. Yeah, there we go. I went into the basement of my place where my old game collection is, and I rescued like a stack of games and brought them up. The place I have set up now, I don't think can house all of the games that I own. So I picked out like a stack of ones I'd be interested in playing again and brought it up. I don't know. I think there's a video there. It'd be cool to show some of that stuff off, but we'll see. Alright. I don't want to stretch this out too long, because the last 2 episodes of TCR were very long. And quite frankly, I don't want to keep going if there isn't a whole lot else to say. Devil May Cry is a lot of fun. I really dug it. I don't really know a whole lot else about the game at this point, though. So we'll see. I think I'm going to keep going with the first one before I give number 3 a try. I was glad that they came in that order, that the first one showed up before I really dug into 3. So I get to kind of play them in something of, in order. I had that problem with Uncharted, and it kind of sucked. I played all the way through Uncharted 3 before I went back and played 1. Just playing them out of order. I don't finish games very much, so when it comes to playing games out of order, it's not usually something I think about a whole lot. But in this case, I'm glad. Hang on. 4-way stop and nobody's going. Alright. We made it. Yeah, alright. So I want to go home and play the game, but I can't because I got to go to work. So, adulthood sucks sometimes, I guess. Alright, boys and girls. It's post-Halloween. I got a belly full of candy. And kind of anxious to get to work so I can fire up the coffee pot. I will see you guys back in the ever so comfortable Panther Studios. Have a good one.
My apologies to the patrons this week. I have nothing. I have no notes, names, anything. This is a Patreon sponsored show, and the people who do sponsor the show, I like to give them the episode just a little bit early as soon as I can get it created, and also their names mentioned on the air. However, unfortunately, I do not have that list right now, so my sincere apologies, gentlemen. Your support is very much appreciated. Let's jump right back into the Vancast.
Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday morning. You know what? I'm just doing this. I know it's going to make it run long. I don't care. Just got a couple things I want to go over. Not too much, but I like to get these things out while they're still fresh in my head. Last night, I got the chance to sit down with my kids and play some games, and I got to say it was a great time. It was one of these moments where it's like, it made me feel like, number one, I'm getting what I wanted out of putting my console setup back together. And number two, it also feels like what I'm doing is still a healthy thing. I've not slipped into wasting time, resources, badly needed things that we need to spend elsewhere. But no, it's like there's still a friendly, healthy balance, which is really important. So I sat down with my kids, and my son wanted to play Terraria on my computer, which is right next to the game setup. And then my daughter and I, who, by the way, my daughter's 3 years old. She's very, very little. We sat down and played NBA Jam on the Sega Genesis. So what we did was we played on a team. It was Golden State versus the Nuggets or the Mavericks, I guess. Whoever it puts you up against first. We played on a team, and she's so little. She likes video games, but she has not gotten the hang of the concept that the D-pad is not a single button. It's a series of 4 buttons that you have to press by touching different parts of it. She hasn't quite got that yet. So when she plays games, she has a hard time actually moving left and right. What she did figure out was how to go back and forth between the pass and shoot buttons. So she ended up being the carrier of the ball, right? We'd do the check, and she'd end up with the ball, and she would pass immediately, and I'd go for the shot. Or she would mash the shoot button and take this wild shot from the other side of the court, which, strangely enough, she did that, and twice it went in, which tells you something about NBA Jam, I guess. But we had a good time. We had a good time, and we got crushed. We got absolutely demolished. But I also think it's worth mentioning that we played a sports game, and we really had a good time. So there's something to be said about that, because sports games are probably the most undesirable of all retro video games, maybe next to Shaq Fu. But when you see collectors talk about their video games, there's always a clear talking down to sports games, which is understandable. I mean, there's so many and there's so much alike. But this was a great time. This was a great time that was great because my daughter and I together. It wasn't great because it was a sports game, so don't get me wrong. But that provided an activity for us to spend time together, which was really awesome. It's really like, when you think back on video games from your childhood, or from my childhood anyway, that's really the part that makes the most difference, is the fact that my brothers and I were spending time together. So it was one of those rare moments where like I really recaptured the magic, which was cool. So that was NBA Jam. Also, last night after the kids went to bed, I played some more Raiden 3 on Steam. Now, you guys know Dumaze and I were throwing down in a high score challenge in Raiden 3 for quite some time. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but he topped out at about 3.5 million, and I topped out at about 2.5 million, and that was pretty much how it went down. We played on normal, like the first booted up, go with those settings. We used no continues. It was a 1 credit only run, and he just hit that magic score that I couldn't top. I have a feeling he couldn't either, but that's neither here nor there. It was a contest winning run, and my congratulations to Dumaze for that. However, a new challenger has appeared. Alex Swingle, good old 6 Self the Fury from the next round, decided to throw his hat in the Raiden 3 ring. And I haven't had the chance to really sit down and discuss this with him, but he dropped a screenshot in my Steam chat. I can't even remember what the score was. It was like 4.5+ million. And Alex, please forgive me if I'm getting this wrong. I'm really hoping to sit down with these and have a definitive scoreboard posted. But Swingle now holds the Raiden 3 single credit crown. So, Dumaze, I'm not going to be able to beat him. That ain't happening. But if you want that crown back, you're going to have to dust off Raiden 3 and get to practicing. Because he got, what did he say, 3rd or 4th level? Look, I'm usually making it as far as the 2nd level boss. That's where I get. The 2nd level boss tends to beat me. The same thing usually happens when I play. I lose a life on that first boss. Every single time. And there's not really a whole lot I can do about it. I don't know. Well, that's not necessarily true. I'm practicing. Maybe it'll get better. But I always lose a life on the first boss. I make it to the 2nd stage, at -1. And then, and I typically die there, somewhere along the line. Usually at the 2nd level boss. But I beat the 2nd level boss last night, which I don't know if that's ever happened. I honestly can't remember if it has or not. Beat the 2nd level boss, moved on to the 3rd stage, and then when I got to the 3rd stage, I died almost immediately, and that was game over. That's pretty much how it's been going for me in terms of Raiden 3. So yeah, now that there's a new high score, I played it last night, and you know what? Even though I'm the bottom of the 3, I'm having a hell of a time with this game. It's really been great. And I know I think it was on Twitter. I can't remember if I said this on the air, if this was on Twitter, but I know we talked about throwing down in Raiden 4 as well, and Dumaze agreed to it. So I have to get Raiden 4 out, Raiden 4 Overkill on Steam, and set a benchmark, because I haven't done that yet. And we'll have to do that and see how it goes. That has been a good time and a highlight of video gaming. Probably because the games at least in the Raiden series, when you play a game, it tends to not run very long. When I do very, very well, I think it's like 10 or 15 minutes tops, something like that. It makes it a good game to play when you're in a situation like mine, where video game time comes at a premium, Oh, bright lights, buddy. All right. Am I good? I can see again? Okay. I'm trying to think. Did I go over everything? I did NBA Jam. Talked about Raiden 3. Halloween sale on Steam has come and gone. I got just a couple of things. Not a whole lot to talk about on that front. I got Alone in the Dark. I think I mentioned this earlier, but I sat down to play it, and oddly enough, Alone in the Dark, the trilogy on Steam, does not have any sort of online profile. So it seems to record my time within the client, but when I play it and you go to my profile, that game does not show up anywhere on my history. So I don't know. It's very weird. I'll tell you what, to a large amount of people out there, that may not matter. And if that's the case, but here's the thing. Without achievements and without any sort of online capabilities, that's really the reason I would buy it on Steam. That's the reason I didn't buy it on GOG, a long time ago. And it now turns out that was a mistake. I should have just, if it's gonna only record the time in the client, I should have just bought it on GOG and then played it in GOG Galaxy, and it'd have been fine. One upside to all this is when I bought it, it actually did come with it came with a modern version of Alone in the Dark that I'm never gonna play, which is good, I guess. Hang on a second. The four-way stop always freaks me out. The middle of nowhere, it's dark, and then the each direction stacks up with people. So it's like you're dependent on everyone to just be honest and go when they're supposed to go. How are we doing? 10 minutes? All right. I think in the interest of safety, I better call it a day. But that was it. I also had another. I don't know how well I can describe this on the air, but I had another. I had a big battle with my cables last night. It was like CF versus the console cables. And I had a big roll of not zip ties, but like Velcro zip ties that are removable. That's the best way for me to describe them. I don't know. And I like it kind of looked like I made it better some, but at the same time, I don't know. I think maybe the cables are winning. All right, boys and girls, let's go back to the ever so comfortable Panzer Studios.
Hey guys, I'm leery about doing the fail bag because when I'm really exhausted like this and I'm not left any time to do the show, this is when I misread things and I start making mistakes. But I'm going to do the best I can, so please bear with me and just let me know if I'm reading something wrong and we'll get through it. Game Beast writes, been playing Settlers 2 Gold while listening to this. It's a nice chill out game. I know I've said that before. I meant to say that the Master System, MS, feels like it has more colors than the NES, but I might be wrong. Oh, my phone's ringing. It's ringing again already. Okay, not so bad. Not so bad. It's just YouTube. Or not YouTube, it's eBay telling me that certain things that I have on my watch list are going by. That's fine. My apologies, Sean. Let's get back to your comment. So you're right. See if I got this right. Altered Beast was definitely a demo game, as it showed that the Mega Drive could do near-perfect arcade ports. The other ports of the game are pretty bad. And weirdly, although the arcade port is better than the Genesis port, I prefer the Genesis one. I can relate to that. It was a good pack-in game before Sonic became it, as it showed what the system was capable of, and it had no trouble doing gorier games than the NES. I've been lucky and got a boxed copy for $5. If it's any more than that, that would be robbery, and it should be common as it was a pack-in game. I hate how sharks and the retro collecting craze have jacked up the prices, and there are still quite a few games I would love to own again. Own for the first time. Still, I think the bubble will eventually burst, and hopefully prices will go down. With MS, I meant the Master System, I just always felt that the Master System could do more colors than the NES, but I may be wrong. I'm happy that you're getting some neat games, and I enjoy playing them. Yeah, 45 minutes is not much into Phantasy Star, and you'll find the first-person dungeons soon. I would recommend playing it with a guide. I think you would enjoy the game more then. I've enjoyed it a lot myself. I've played... Let's see if I get this right. I've played some TurboGrafx ROMs, and there are some sweet games in there. It is right now too pricey for me to buy physical copies at the moment. I gotta watch more Shmuptober. I'll do that after writing this. Question of the Beast. Since some of the bigger YouTube channels have got games based on them, how would the Tiger Claw game be like? Like genre, setting, system, etc. Wow, that is a great question. Alright, man. Let's start with this question of the Beast. The Tiger Claw game would be not played by anyone. 4 people would buy it on Steam, because this is my dream game. It would be a retro-style FPS. We've seen a few of those lately. The first one that comes to mind is Merger 3D, although there have been other ones. Except you would be able to use modern controls. I wouldn't try and emulate the retro style that much. But the way I would do it is that the resources would come from native files, to making it extremely easy to hack. It would be very important that the engine would be wide open and it would be sold on Steam with workshop support. meaning you could swap out the music and the graphics. A lot like Doom. And as for the setting, I would make it retro sci-fi. Sci-fi, like I would rebuild Disruptor. That's what I would do. It would be Disruptor for the PC, but it would be hackable. And I would hire painters to paint a beautiful manual. And I would hire creators to make some premium content for my workshop, so that when you bought it, you could go and download some professionally made mods right out of the gate. That would be my game. It would be, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's just make something fun and familiar and accessible and playable, and with some options for creativity in it. And that would be my dream game. It would be a simple FPS that does right what so many games do wrong. And that would be my dream game. All right, let's talk about some of the other things you mentioned here. I don't know a lot about the Master System, Sean, but I was watching a video recently. Metal Jesus Rocks did a video like... It was a Master System video. I think he called it the price guide, but it really wasn't a price guide. It was just like, let's talk about the Master System. And I'm told that, I don't know how true this is, you'd have to look at specs. I'm told that the Master System natively outperforms the NES in colors. However, the NES allowed for expansions on the individual games. An example of this that comes to mind is the Konami had a trademarked sound expansion, which is why Konami and Ultra Games had a very specific sound to them in their music. And the fact that the cartridges for the NES could expand made it kind of push far above and beyond the Master System. That's something I heard. How true it is, I don't know. So I'm still a newbie with the Master System, although I will note that I'm very much enjoying it. Thanks for the comments, man. It's always good to hear from you. It's especially I like hearing early childhood Sega stories. Because, Sean, this is the best way I would put it. I was a Nintendo boy, but I am a Sega man. And that's my story. All right, let's move on to Alex Swingle's story. Now, this is a bunch of stuff here, and I want to make sure and read it carefully. He writes, TCR 207. At minute 76, talking about EverDrives just being ROM carts. I tried to bite my tongue the first time you said something. Oh, geez, there goes my phone again. Stop it, phone. I can't turn it off because if the kids need me, I need to know about it. I'm sorry, guys. Let's try this again. My apologies, Alex. Number 1, at minute 76, talking about EverDrives just being ROM carts. I tried to bite my tongue the first time you said something as special as an EverDrive being an expensive way to play games on an original machine versus using a Raspberry Pi. With the Pi, you get all the emulation errors due to the Pi not being able to properly emulate the system. As an EverDrive gives perfect emulation because there's no emulation. It just loads the data off an SD card, then onto the RAM chip. No sound or graphical errors. That's why it's so expensive. That is a fair point. That is a fair point, good sir. You know, I'd love to hear examples of games where that's the way to go. One such example is, I think it's Virtua Racing for the Genesis. That was like the Genesis game that's supposed... I heard once you could not emulate, but I bet you could put it on a flash cart. Yeah, that is a fair point. Let's return to the email. He writes, number 2, sorry for the miscommunication again. I was referring to that voicemail comment Balzac sent in about playing hooky, and not the written comment. I know that one was... Excuse me. Sorry. I know that one was read. I have not caught up, but I'm on the edge of finishing my backlog, if you know what I mean. I need to give you... Excuse me, I read that wrong. I need to give 191 plus 192... and 199 and 202 of TCR before I can honestly declare I'm running on empty barrels. I'm going to stop the email right there, just comment on that. I kind of like when I'm listening to a podcast that I'm really digging. I think that's a good place to be, man. When like you're enjoying it, you're in there, and you still got more to go. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just a tangent. Let's get back to the comment. He writes, I still recommend choosing 2 or 3 locations to where comments will be read so you don't forget them. Not wanting to miss out on comments from websites. Hang on. This words got jumbled in my head. Not wanting to miss out on comments from websites the podcast is distributed on will occur as often as you forget to check every platform. Any comments from your Podomatic page, comments can be left there. All right. In the history of TCR, I think I may have gotten 1 comment on Podomatic, but it was way before the reboot. It was like back in pre-Monster Cast. So, yeah, 2010-ish. I don't know. No one's ever really left comments there. Once in a while, I get spam. You know, people, other podcasts have tried to friend me, you know, over there. You know, it is what it is. Back in the day when other people within our group was trying Podomatic, there was a time when Gooch and the Douchebag was on Podomatic, and Jerry Terrifying even tried it for 1 episode. Even then, when there were several people on it, we didn't leave comments to each other via Podomatic. Death Adder is on there now, right? He runs a Podomatic page, and we don't leave comment. I comment on his show, but I leave them directly on the Death Adder page rather than you know, on Podomatic. So let me just make the declaration. Don't leave comments on the Podomatic page because I will miss them. All right, so technically, I guess you could say now you can't leave comments on any place you can download the podcast. I'll have to work on that. I'll have to work on crafting a reasonable, succinct, brief comment policy. Number 3, and he leaves a URL. For the reading pleasure of anyone interested, I'm not sure if I get such weird responses from people because I write like an idiot, but holy heck, was this whole encounter funny to me. He ain't the only one who thinks I'm terrible at jokes. Now, for those of you listening, I'm reading this off of the nextround.net. You can head over to last week's episode and see the URL he's talking about. Number 4, I now joined the Raiden 3 High Score Challenge, and I got a series of numbers for you. And he leaves a URL. This one I'm going to check right here on the air because this is for the Raiden Challenge, and I want to see what the benchmark is now. Okay, so, jeez Louise. Come on, Alex. Did you really have to ruin the game for everyone? This is quite a score. He leaves 4,482,080 points. And I can see he has 2 credits remaining, so he has not continued. This is a 1 credit run. And the caption is, my score, 4.48 million, basically near finishing stage 3. And way to go, man. This is an impressive score. Because I always die towards the beginning of stage 2. I made it to the boss once. I even beat the boss 1 time, but I died right at the beginning of stage 3. So you have got me beat, good sir. My question would be that, not that, you know, you have to do anything with this, but just, you know, for entertainment purposes, Raiden 3 will save, like when you do an excellent run like this, you can set it to save your replay. Would you ever consider doing that? Saving a replay of like so you could just play privately, right? And not have to worry about making a let's play. But then if you hit that awesome game, you could then save the replay, run it back through with OBS on, and then just like put it up on like unlisted, or maybe even talk through it and make a video out of it. Because I would love to see how the heck you did that. But kudos to you. Clearly the high score winner. And guys, that URL is up in the comments of last week's show on the nextround.net, because this is 4.48 million. I'm not even coming close to that. Nicely done. And the last thing he says is, I scored 4.48 million. I don't have video footage to talk over, but I got audio commentary that will be released along with all the games. I played for the CF High Score Note Comparison Challenge. I'm just tired of getting flagged on my channel, and I want to keep it clean, so the audio should be fine. Okay, I understand. So it's a YouTube thing. I completely get it, dude. 4A. In honor of Dumays, hashtag suck it, in reference to his high score attempt video for Raiden 3. Just being playful. Don't be mad, Dumays. He's just playing around. I love it that we had a 3-player high score challenge in Raiden 3. That is so awesome to me. It really is. Even coming in last place, it's truly something that pleases me in a big way that we did that. So thanks for playing, Alex. All right, let's go to the YouTube channel. See if there's any comments there. Oh, so loud! Oh my gosh. Hang on, it's loading. This is the quiet time. Alright, we got one from Saga. He writes, I don't know if I'd call TurboGrafx 16 the definitive shmup console. Genesis / Mega Drive has just as many classics on it. Saturn is up there too. That's something I really wanted to get into back when I was still heavy into collecting. Mainly just to play bonk on actual hardware. Just never happened. Did build up a decent PCE CD collection though. Well, I own Rondo, East Books 1 and 2, Lords of Thunder, Valis 1 through 4, and DD2. Most of the essentials anyway, ignoring the ludicrously overpriced Ginga Fuke Densetsu Sapphire. I hope I pronounced that close to right. And DMC2 is the worst. I'm not really into that series, but I know enough to know that fairly sure 3 is considered the best, so you made out well there. Okay, I got some questions for you. First and foremost, those TurboGrafx 16 / PCE CD collection stuff, is that anything that you still have access to? Because we're reaching a point. All right, let's put it this way. There is a quote from Bill Burr that he tells many times, where he says, you don't want to get a yacht. Don't buy a yacht. What you want is to have a friend who owns a yacht and then just show up with a 6-pack of beer and be like, hey, how you doing? Because then your friend has gone through figuring out about yachts and you get to show up and party. That's the case with... I'm wondering if we can make that the case with the TurboGrafx 16 or the PCE CD. Is that something you can hook up and we can play? Just asking. It's okay if it isn't. By the way, looking forward to hooking up again and playing some more fighting games. I threw some more money down the toilet and got some more garbage for Street Fighter V. A game I both love and hate at the very same time, which is how you know it's something special. As far as Devil May Cry is concerned, you know what, dude? I sat down with Devil... this is something I wanted to do another Vancast and talk about this, but I just couldn't make it happen. I sat down with Devil May Cry again this morning before work, and I finished the first stage up, and I got into the second stage. I am digging it, man. It's a simple game, but it's got things I like in it. I'm digging it. I can't say... Like I see how PS2 games have aged, right? I'm not blind to that fact. Nor am I blind to some of the problems with it. For example, the too edgy for you story. It's like, yeah, I get it. His swords go right through him and blood goes everywhere and he just seems to be unfazed. Okay, that's fine. I get it. But the exploring the environments, I think, is really good. The exploring the environments and interacting with objects and getting back text-based descriptions is very reminiscent of the first 3 Resident Evil games. It's a type of exploration that Capcom in general does very well when they want to. Or at least they did at one time do it very well. I don't know if they do it anymore or whatever. Who knows? That's awesome, dude. I have to research what the good shmups are also because I don't know what they are. Especially Genesis is a huge system for repros. So even if they're prohibitively expensive, I could conceivably get repros. The most expensive game I'm thinking about right now is like, okay, here's something else I wanted to talk about, but I just ran out of time. So maybe we got a little time now. When you're collecting, All right. I feel like it's important, or at least it's a fun thing, to have like one crazy expensive thing that you can't get, but you want, right? If you ask a guy who's really into cars, they'll usually tell you, man, it would be great if I could get, an old Shelby or something like that. Man, that would be awesome. If I had all the money in the world, I would get, I don't know, a Bugatti, or I don't know, there's some kind of thing that's out of reach that they look at and say that is the thing. Well, for me right now, it's a game called In the Hunt for the PS1. It's a long box edition game that reaches about $125. I've watched some Let's Plays of it. Oh, amazing. Oh my gosh, amazing. That game looks freaking good. In the Hunt for the PS1. But there's clearly, when I look at these types of games, shmups like that, there's clearly a lack of education. I don't know where the good ones are or what they're called. And I feel like if I did, then I would be sorely disappointed at some expensive out-of-reach games. But I don't know. Now I'm rambling. I hope that's all the comments I have. I'm exhausted. I finished my work week and arrived home for like a million things to do. And I have to get up early tomorrow to take my son to a scouting event. Listen, when you guys become parents and they take you to the Cub Scout meeting and the Cub Scout master says, we do something once every 2 weeks, it's a lie. They are lying to you because they're liars. And that's my experience with the Scouts. All right, boys and girls. I'm sorry this is like a stripped down episode. Well, we made it an hour. That's not so bad. I'm sorry it's such a stripped down episode, but I'm doing the best I can to hold it together over here. But at the same time, I feel like I'm in a good place because the reason is because I'm actually playing games, right? That's providing things to discuss, and it's also moving the ship forward, right? If I wasn't playing games, there would have been plenty of time to get this together. So, I don't know. It's a give and take, you know what I mean? Well, all right. Again, my apologies for the lack of format dressing. But if whatever it is that brought you here, 1 hour and 2 minutes and 10 seconds into Tiger Claw Radio, I hope your life is going well. Keep at it and don't give up, because I'm rooting for you. And I'll see you next week.